Today I'm in Paris where we're going to meet with Arielle. She's originally from Canada and she moved to France 8 years ago to study at the School of Journalism in Aix-en-Provence. She then moved to Paris where she now lives with her French boyfriend, and we are going to talk today about how she has experienced moving to France and building a life here. I met Arielle because she has a wonderful YouTube channel called Ariel in Paris, where she shares the best places in Paris, and she also offers travel consultations to make a personalized itinerary for your trip to Paris. So let's go and meet Arielle now. Hi! Hi! Good to see you.
Hi,
Good to meet you.
You're so tall.
Yeah, well, I'm Dutch. Wow.
So, welcome
Yeah.
to the biggest covered market in Paris. It opened in 1850.
1850?
Yes.
Okay, so it's almost 200 years old, 175.
But the reason I wanted to bring you here is because normally my favorite chocolatier has a stand here,
Yeah.
who is the oldest chocolatier in Paris. Not him, but the Maison. So I'll show you. Unfortunately, it's closed, but
Okay.
I think it's fun to see.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've never actually eaten here, but I would really
Yeah, I love this.
like. They have tons of
vibe.
restaurants. It's similar
Yeah.
to the Marché en Rouge.
Ah oui, ça je connais.
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, so normally he's there with his stand. It's so sad. Okay, so the name is Furet Tanran, and I discovered them like probably a year ago. He actually normally his boutique is in the tent, like right outside.
Okay.
And it's a Maison de Chocolat that's been open for 297 years, which is the oldest in Paris.
Wow.
But with the pandemic, he went through a lot of financial hardship. He had to close his boutique. And so he opened here in the Marché, and he opens sporadically, like 3 days out of the week.
Very French.
Yeah.
And you can find the opening hours online.
Yeah, on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, his chocolate is the best in Paris. The Galette des Rois are so good, but
So actually what you're saying is we need to come back tomorrow and hope that he's open.
I sent him a message. I was like, Anna, are you open? I need to bring someone to see you. And
We'll have to find another Galette des Rois then.
yes.
Yeah?
Do you have any ideas?
Yes. I just passed.
Oh my
a
gosh,
really
I'm
nice-
gonna follow you.
I found a really nice boulangerie on the street. If I can find my way back, I think back where we came in.
Yeah.
So do that?
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about what Galette des Rois
Yes,
is actually. Because that's
yes.
a very French thing.
So you just
right
randomly
here.
found this as you were walking?
Exactly.
Oh my god.
And I thought this looks like a very nice boulangerie. Should let you go first. That would have been We need to explain what this Galette des Rois is about.
It's a Roman tradition, and they would share a meal between the upper and lower class. They would put a bean in the cake because the bean was symbolic of spring and the harvest and rebirth. And whoever got the piece of cake with the fève in it, they got to be king for the day, and they could order people around, have whatever they wanted.
Whoever gets the fève gets to wear the crown.
I love it.
You probably didn't click on this video to watch two girls eating a galette des rois, so let's talk about how we have both experienced moving to France and building a life here. Ariel is taking me to the Canal Saint-Martin. It was very windy this day, so the audio could have been better, but I'm hoping you find the things that we're sharing here helpful.
I remember when I first moved here, this was the place to come for nightlife, for picnics in the summer. It's beautiful to really just enjoy a little sandwich or a coffee along here. For a long time, I would say it was a little bit underdeveloped. It wasn't as hip and happening.
No, because I remember
now.
when I came to Paris, when I worked here 25 years ago, it wasn't the place to be.
It's very vibrant, very artistic, and you have lots of bars, restaurants, bakers, a new take on Paris.
So it's like the locals would come here.
Yeah. For me, why I wanted to move here is I had this vision. Like I fell in love with the language, I fell in love with what I could see. The sparkling Eiffel Tower, all these romantic scenes set in Paris. It just, and it pulls you in. So I think you have this mediatized France, mediatized Paris. And then when you live here, you get to know like what's at the heart, the real side of the culture, the people.
And my honest question was, do I see Paris or France differently being from Europe than you being from North America?
I think so.
You do?
I think so. What was your version of the romanticized Paris?
Well, not Paris, because I was drawn to France. Well, it's everything that annoys me today. Like the admin system is so slow, everything takes long. But I keep reminding myself, it's the same thing that drew me here, and that is a slower pace of life. Because I think because they have so many issues, because the most used word, what I say is, c'est compliqué. But because a lot of things just aren't as smooth, efficient, and fast as in the Netherlands. But then that is exactly what drew me here. Because what I've seen is that the French have developed this attitude of, we can't change it anyway, just let's have a drink, sit down, and enjoy life. We do not have in the Netherlands. Everything is so fast that you're so used to getting things organized and fixed that you're not even able to have any patience with anything. That's what drew me.
I think it's very similar but different from maybe Canada or North America. Is when I think of what images I first saw of Paris, it's the boulangerie. Strolling out with the baguette, going and sitting on a terrace, sitting on the Champ de Mars and looking at the Eiffel Tower, like flâner is what you would say in French. And I think it's that kind of version of a slow-paced, idyllic lifestyle that we would see in the media from Canada. That was what attracted me to France and to Paris as well. But different, because you still have, like in the Netherlands, at least in the small years I've been to, or Europe in general, you do have the terrace, you do have the local shops, whereas
you see that as a European thing.
I think so.
Because one of the things, I think you're officially not allowed to eat in your car behind the wheel in France. And I don't see a lot of people, maybe here in Paris, but where I live, nobody's walking with our coffee to go. And so it's a moment you take to sit down, like whenever there's food involved, it's a moment.
Joie de vivre, I almost want to say.
Yeah. So you said that you were drawn to all things French as a kid. I've been thinking about this. And that you asked, or that your parents put you in a French-speaking school in Canada. So how old were you then?
So young, maybe 4 or 5.
See, so I was wondering, what attracts a 4-year-old in a culture of a country she's probably never been to?
I don't know. I was just it just sounded beautiful to me, I think.
So you grew up bilingual. French, English, basically. And then at some point you decided to come here.
When I was in middle school, they offered like an exchange, a 3-week exchange with a French family. And I begged my parents to let me go.
And then you moved here for your studies.
Yeah.
So how have you found the real France, I would say, to be different?
The thing is, I come from Canada. I come from Toronto. I did my studies in Ottawa. Like, one of the biggest differences I think I find is that you have this need for urgency and need for ready-made everything. Everything needs to go right now. So when you go to the grocery store, I remember this was one of the hardest things. Not hardest, I don't want to say that, but I came here.
The lines at the checkout?
No!
Oh, because I was going to say that. Like, everybody's just chilling, and in the Netherlands, everybody would be like, it takes too long, and would be stressing.
Well, that I feel like you get used to over time, but it is definitely annoying. But I remember I couldn't find Caesar salad dressing for years. And I was so annoyed because I'm like, what, in Toronto, I just go and pick up the Caesar salad dressing. It's in a bottle in the fridge for me. Or chicken noodle soup. It's in the fridge, pre-made. And then I was like, well, why don't you just make it? And so I think that in France, you don't have this notion of, right now, I need this. I want everything pre-made. you have more of a slow down, take your time, make it with quality products.
It's become kind of a lifestyle, really, to take
Completely.
time for things. I actually really enjoy that. Like I said, waiting in the line at the checkout. My sons, when we came here, were very surprised to have 2 hours for the lunch break. That would be 20 minutes in the Netherlands.
Yep.
But I think that's one of the things we do love about France, right?
When I was working, at an office job, I had 10 to 12 weeks of vacation. And not only did I have that much vacation, I was encouraged to take that vacation. The office closed in August. Whereas when I think about the work culture that I grew up with in Canada and North America, you might have 2 or 3 weeks and you're not encouraged. Wow, it's impressive if you don't take that because you're committed.
Yeah, see, so that is different with the Netherlands because we have 5 weeks, 6 sometimes paid vacation.
See,
I think
that's so unheard
I
of.
always worked for American companies, so I got the strict minimum. So that is not such a big cultural difference, I think. I think the biggest cultural difference that I have experienced that was a bit difficult at the beginning is just the social norms. Like in the Netherlands, people tend to be pretty open. They talk to everybody. Here, I know somebody said this, somebody else on YouTube, I don't remember who it was, that being polite in French in France means that you're keeping the right distance. Because if I don't know you yet, I'm not going to be like you and I, we see each other for the first time, we go like, hi! The French would go like, what are you doing? And I every time I meet a new person, so it's always like a guess. So what are we doing? You know, or sometimes you get introduced to a friend's friend you don't know, and ils font la bise, and then they go kiss you, and you go like, oh. So what I find interesting is that they do la bise pretty easily. Which I find way more intimate than a hug. But the hug to them is like, what are you doing? So I think those social norms, it's just something that I always tell the people, if you're coming here, just please do some research and to understand that for a French person, they're being polite by not asking about your personal life, by not inviting you to their home, by not hugging you. To them, that means they're respectful towards you. And in my culture, and I think especially in North American culture, that would be distant or rude.
For me, it was always very frustrating with my friends at the start to really get to that deeper level of a real friendship. I always felt like I was the one reaching out first, inviting people over to my place. But for me, the easiest way is to join something where you are forced to see people multiple times a week. So for me, that was basketball. I was forced to see my teammates 3 times a week, 2 practices and 1 game. And over the course of time, you go for a drink after the game and then a drink after a practice, and you build the relationship over time. But it really has to be something, I feel, where you sign up and everybody is forced to take that break in their schedule.
My approach has been, I will just be respectful. I know the code, I would say, in French culture. I'll be open, but I'll let them take the first step. And I've noticed also that people are very interested in my family because they see we're Dutch. Even my boys, they had friends very easily because they're like, oh, here are these Dutch boys. So there's also a positive side to being the foreigner, I think, because people are interested in where you're from. But like, especially where we are, le trou, la campagne. Why would you come move here? And so that was an easy way for me actually to connect with people and make friends. The real friends I made are through the activities that are linked to either my work or other things that I do. And I would say, and I think you said the same thing, learn French. My neighbors actually asked this question. I said, but why do you struggle so much with speaking English? What is the real issue? And he said, we would love to invite you, but if we feel we need to speak English, it just freaks us out. So we'd rather avoid. It doesn't mean we're not interested in you, but...
It's so interesting to have that honest answer, that honest feedback.
It was helpful because it also tells you, if you want to make this a success, and a lot of people that are following you and me are thinking about coming to France, and just start with learning the language. You don't need to be fluent because they relax as soon as you say bonjour, je m'appelle, whatever your name is, and you maybe try to get out a few sentences, but then they relax instantly because they feel that you're trying, is what I've noticed. But then again, you were fluent when you came. I was fluent when we came. So you're able to have a real conversation about real things, because the French love to talk about everything, on a very deep I love that because I like that. They can have a real honest conversation and disagree on things. I love that actually.
Have strong opinions.
How have you experienced that?
I would say definitely. I think it's hard. I'm thinking like, what would I have done if I didn't speak the language? You know, how would I have made it work? But it's true, like that is the key to having those conversations, and not just like, of course, if you're moving here, it's important to learn. But then I think of, you know, the chefs that I've met, that I've interviewed, the store owners that I met, to be able to hear their stories and understand them and have those strong conversation and moments. It's so like language is the key to culture, you know?
So the other thing I wanted to talk about, that you're a business owner, I'm a business owner. I see huge differences because I think a lot of people that want to move to France, one of the things is how are we going to make money?
Yeah.
And I think salaries are very low outside of Paris.
I think it's very fulfilling to be able to start a business, but I do think there are some logistics to think about. For example, renting, buying, you need to have a CD.
Yeah, CD is a contract.
Yes, an indeterminate, a permanent contract.
Yeah, an employment contract.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so if you want to get housing, you usually need a couple of things that you usually don't have.
Yeah.
Because like you probably need an address first before you can get your employment contract, right?
Yes.
Like the catch-22 thing. Yeah. So to go back to the entrepreneurial thing, I find France, I didn't want this video to be negative in any sense because and then it would just be a proof that we've become very French because as we say, les Français ils râlent.
Tout le temps.
Which means they complain. And this probably is something about the culture that you would also need to understand when you come here. The French just love to complain because it is actually part of the culture, I think.
The esprit révolutionnaire.
This probably to me was the biggest thing that I did not expect about France because we have this picture of they enjoy life and they take time. So you see them as people that are positive but then you come here and actually the French are very pessimistic. They don't have the joie de vivre necessarily every day in their energy.
Yeah.
And I did not expect that.
And do you feel like that changed you?
It does. I was just saying that to my French friend. I said, actually, I've become more negative. So I'm really working on myself on staying the optimistic, joyful person that I was because you just, you get infected almost by the energy. You start taking on that same vibe. But nonetheless, it would not make me leave France for that reason. But it is something to be mindful of, I think. But if I can allow myself to râler un peu quand même, is that when I started my business here, I was so shocked with how different the government is here towards your initiative of trying to make money for this country or your initiative to make something thrive. So the what's the word? The tone in every communication that you receive here is, now that you've started your business, you need to do this, otherwise you get a fine. It's like, in the Netherlands, it's like, hey, congratulations, you've started your business. Wow, let's make you as successful as you can be. It's one of the biggest shocking things to me.
You live in a perpetual state of anxiety because you're like, what document am I missing? What have I forgotten to renew? Like always. And I remember my first year starting my business, because my business is fairly new. I must have blacked it out because it was so traumatic. It was a year of being very stressful because like if you make a mistake, you have to pay again and file all the paperwork again. And so very quickly it's time consuming and costful. So it's hard to understand the system for sure.
Well, I've been here 6 years and I have a very good French accountant.
Yes.
I still don't get it. She goes, I know. And then she says, but it changes every year. So, and then for somebody with a lot of experience in business, that's frustrating because I think, I kind of know how things work. And that, I don't think that's the same in North America either. Let's be like, they want you to thrive. They want you to make mistakes. And here in France, I think it's both in that area, but I see it in school with my boys as well. Like making a mistake is like the biggest sin.
I think it's empathy. I think there's a little bit less empathy for human error, human mistakes, whereas in Canada people are generally much more patient. I remember even when I was applying for my visas, it was insanity. Like similar to the business, everything had to be the original copy. Nothing could be transmitted via email, via PDF. Like it was so much work, whereas less lenient, I think, is what I'm
yeah,
thinking.
Yeah. What would we want to tell people? You come to France and your life will be great. Which
It will be great.
It will be great, but it doesn't miraculously solve all your problems.
No.
It actually adds a few problems. Like I said, with entrepreneurship, like I really struggle with understanding how it works.
And you're coming from the just
European
to add, yes. Can you imagine visas?
No, I don't. Yeah, I have a couple of friends that are trying. Yeah, and that's ridiculous actually thinking, because I'm from the European Union. I can come even without speaking French. I can just come buy a house and move here.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that then.
My very first visa, it was a very complicated process. It was before technology. So that's when I was sending in, like I was having to do everything, the original copies. I don't want to lie. It was very hard to get all the documents together and to meet deadlines. But in the end, I kind of want to say nothing good comes easy.
Yeah.
So even if it does take work, even if it's very stressful, if there's moments where you feel like it's very challenging, in the end, if you persevere, it'll be worth it. Like, I would never regret having moved here. I would never regret the months I spent doing paperwork. And you would have hard things in the Netherlands. I would have hard things in Canada.
Sometimes, honestly, I despair. I go, I don't know if I can deal with this any longer. I came here for a quieter life.
Yeah.
And I did not expect that so many little things would be so much harder, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But then I try to say to myself, yeah, but really, if you go back to the Netherlands, there are also hard things. So we shouldn't forget that, even though we struggle here, we struggle everywhere. You always take yourself everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. You always take your personal struggles everywhere you go. And I would not go back. Would you?
No. I don't want to say that because my mom, it'll break her heart. But
oh yeah.
No, I love what I built here, and there's so many beautiful things about living here that I wouldn't want to give that up. I think it gets even better when you dig deeper and you get to know people and you get to know
the richness of the culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like an iceberg. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
You have what you see on the outside, and
and then when they let you into the culture, you start understanding. You also start seeing why things that seemed a bit odd initially are actually a good thing, like respecting the other person. And so we're going to say to you, if you want to move to France, we survived.
We're thriving.
We're thriving. So by all means, come here, but be prepared. That would be the bottom line, I think. Learn French. Mm-hmm. Don't assume things are the same in your country or in your culture. Be very open to learn. Say bonjour. It's a good start, and learn French.
Mm-hmm. And I would say be patient, and not everything is the end of the world. You make a mistake.
Give it time.
Yeah. You need time to learn, to adapt.
Coucou.
You can see, like, as we're filming, there are people who are flâner along the canal.
But that is because so many people are just walking here and enjoying a lot. We should go enjoy a good French lunch. What do you say?
I would love that.
Okay, let's do it.
Thank you so much, Ariel, for sharing all of your experience in this video and for the lovely morning that we spent together. If you don't follow Ariel yet, I highly recommend you do. Her channel is called Ariel in Paris, and I've left a link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week with a new video.